This is a story about an adventure. A story about an adventure about a boy who became a man whose name was Frank Bruin. Frank Bruin lived in the lovely world of Pokemon, where there was always Pokemon everywhere, and people could catch them with Pokeballs and then fight or play, or the one where they dance on stage. And then he was living in the world of Pokemon, and when there was when they turned 11, they would go on adventures and battle Pokemon and become the master of them all. But Frank was a different boy, and he didn't do that because he was scared to go outside. But it wasn't because he was just very weird and no one liked him. It was because the first time when he was 11 and he was going to go out there, and before, when he packed his bags and put in clean clothes, and his mum gave him clean underwear, and he was going to go further out, and then when he got to the road and he turned and waved goodbye, and because he had his Pokemon and it was a Pidgey, because that was what his mum could afford to buy him, was a Pidgey, and he was turned to go, and he waved to his mum and said bye, and she ran towards him with a newspaper, and she said, "No, Frank, oh no, wait, listen to this news," because she had a newspaper, and it was in the news that Phil Castle, his favourite gym leader of the ice gym leader of the Pokemon, he had lost his left testicle because a Houndoom had bit it on his balls, and his left testicle had to be amputated because it got infected. And then, so that point, because there was lots of Houndooms outside of Frank's village, he said, "No, I can't go out anymore." So he ran back inside, and he stayed inside, and he played Batman and read the story about the man who was always alive, and he was gay sometimes because he lived so long, he had to be sometimes. And then so Frank came back, and he lived there until he was turned 22, and then what happened was he was 22 and his toilet was broken, so he went outside to his backyard to do a number one pee when in the bushes in the backyard, and just when he was about to, out jumped a Growlithe, and it growled because it's called Growlithe, and it roared at him, and Frank said, "No, go Pidgey," and he released Pidgey, but Pidgey hadn't been out in ages, so it didn't know what to do, and it fell on the ground, and it was dead because he hadn't it wasn't dead, but it was very weak because he hadn't fed it in so long. And then so what he did was, the Growlithe wasn't even mean, so he didn't have to do anything, and because the Growlithe was just a baby, a scared baby, and so Frank grabbed it by the head and said, "Oh, good one, good Growlithe," and he patted it, and then that's how Growlithe became his new Pokemon, and he said, "I'll call you Cloud," because that's a good name to call dogs, apparently. But Growlithe, he was a very good one, and so Frank put it in Pidgey's Pokeball because he released Pidgey, because nobody likes Pidgeys. So then he put it in the ball, and then he didn't even tell his mom, but he went and said to his dad, "It's time for adventures," and his dad said, "No, you are not good enough yet to leave this town." Phil Castle lost his testicle to a Houndoom, and then so out jumped Coach Carlisle, who was the coach of the local hockey team, and said, No, Frank can go because I don't have a hockey team anymore because Pokemon, no one needs hockey anymore. And then so out came Coach Carlisle and said I will travel with him. And so they left onto the road. They ran down the road together, Coach Carlisle and Frank, and they ran all the way down to the town, the next town through the jungles, and the volcanoes were off to the sides, and they fought all the Pokemon on the way. And when they got all the badges together, and then when they got them, Frank only still had Growlithe, who evolved to Arcanine because that was his most powerful one, and he had Ariados, and he had Joltik because he likes spiders, and he had Muck, and he had Wooper, and he had that other one. Blossom was his last one, and when he got to the last town, all his Pokemon were weak except Arcanine, and then so out popped a Dragonair from the ice, and Coach Carlisle said, "Quick, Frank, I know how to ice skate." And then they put on their ice skates, and he showed him how to skate around the Dragonair to dodge its attacks. And they went zoom, and they went all the way around both times. And then Coach Carlisle said, "Frank, quick, use Arcanine's Fire Blast." And then Frank said yes. And then so out came the blast, and it blasted on the face. And then Dragonair went down and fell on the ground, and then Frank threw out a Pokeball and caught it, and then that's how one day it eventually evolved into Dragonite, and then he was strong enough and he beat the entire Elite Four with Dragonite, and then he was the champion, and Coach Carlisle was happy because he finally won something, won a whole thing together, and that's the adventure of Frank and the Dragonair. Thank you. Yep.